Hi, my name is Mariana Gomez, and I'm here today to take you this afternoon through a journey to understand how traditional communities relate to nature and how this relation acknowledges deep interdependence, and how this understanding can inform modern companies to transition to our much needed regenerative models. So join me this afternoon. To understand this profound connection to nature, we must know that local knowledge aims for collective well-being. What this means is that traditional communities define their vision of the future and what we call the development model based on their needs and values and their identity. And they come to this collectively. They come together to understand what are the virtues and values of their territory in an understanding where territory and people are correlated. And their vision of the world is rooted in well-being and in the collective, and privilege the livelihoods that will bring well-being both to nature and people. And the solutions are born in a dialogue of different perspectives. So what does the collective mean for them? And to understand this, we must know that in many indigenous languages do not have a word for the term nature. And this is not surprising, because they don't base their cosmology in this dichotomy of division between nature and society. They understand themselves as part of the living system where everything is in relation. And in this sense, then, the collective here not only encompasses the human community they live with, but this informs their relationship with the whole context they are embedded in, the wider collective. And this refers to the more than human world, what we call nature. Isn't this way of seeing the world a daily statement of conscious participation that acknowledges interdependence? I think it is. So follow me to understand how this vision of the world can inform the way we participate in the modern world, in the living system that sustains us. Come on. Vamos ya. To understand how this systemic approach can inform our world views and daily life, we have to ask ourselves some questions. Like, for example, have you ever asked yourself, how do we engage in the natural world in our daily life? Perhaps a couple of trees on our way to work, or the tap water in our bathrooms and kitchens. What is our daily interaction with this realm? How do our daily actions impact and inform this context? Have you realized there is no way of existing in isolation, and that every act we make has a repercussion at a larger scale? How do we participate and show reciprocity to the system that sustains us? What is our role in the whole process? Answering these questions requires conscious participation. So if we understand each of our actions carries responsibility, then we can understand that the resilience of the whole system depends on the participation of each one. Are we aware of us that system will never be resilient if not everyone is involved in the process? And this means each and every one of us, you and me. Making our world regenerative implies we need to work together and apply systemic changes. There is no way of building a regenerative model in isolation, because this is an interactive process that must be collective through inclusive methodologies based on local actions. Bringing awareness to the way we participate and looking into examples on how local communities base their way of living in this deep connection with nature can give us important hints on how to deal with global challenges as humanity. And to understand how we all have to take responsibility on the whole. And this implies taking a step back on our own way of seeing. So imagine we could put on some special glasses, and these special glasses would enable us to see the connection between everything. These invisible infinite lines that are interconnected between things and people. And we could take responsibility of some of the impacts our actions have. Would this imply a change? I believe yes. And if we could start tracking the implications our actions have, we would understand the deepness of our participation in the whole system. We tend to think that local solutions only contribute to solve local conflicts, but the truth is that they address global challenges. With the awareness of conscious participation, local communities of course answer and build strategies to be implemented in their own context. But it is not a secret that most of the pressures and threats they are facing are related to greater problems from the outer world. Local conflicts are rooted in global dynamics. So let's wonder, is there a correlation the other way around? I believe yes, indeed. The way local communities, based on their understanding, solve problems, bring insights on how we can address global challenges. But not only on how we can address them, but they themselves are addressing global conflicts. Solutions applied at scale are relevant for specific contexts, are not only solving local conflicts, they're addressing wider conflicts. They're addressing global issues by adequately managing their territories, protecting forest cover, enhancing biodiversity, and applying regenerative food systems. For example, this way they are addressing global change and reducing carbon emissions. If local knowledge systems are a source of solutions to both address local challenges and contribute to global issues, how can we scale up or replicate these models? We have to understand this is not a matter of applying one only recipe over and over again, but to identify foundational premises that guarantee ethical and inclusive approaches. Among these premises, we should know solutions must unfold from a dialogue amongst different perspectives. Because no one culture has the mindset or mindset has an ultimate solution. For example, local communities are creative and resilient, and modern companies have the technical tools to make things happen. Bringing these two assets together would make possible to bring the best of both worlds together. So it's time for scaling up solutions together. So let's explore the foundations of regenerative models in order for traditional knowledge systems to inform modern companies. Because when designing regenerative models, we want to avoid ticking boxes, sustainability, equity, etc. These things are important, but we don't want just to tick them. We want solutions to be rooted in real systemic paradigm-shifting changes. And this can only happen through inclusive methodologies that open dialogue that brings together diverse ways of thinking. Participatory methods ensure for this to be interactive and to be collective. Together, local communities and modern companies can map causes, pressures, and threats, understanding how these correlate and linking their implications at different levels and scales. As we said, these special classes would enable us to do so. So let's explore these foundations. For example, interdependence means understanding and acknowledging that everything is deeply interconnected. That, for example, a forest is not only a number of trees, but valuing the set of relations that the forest enables. And this is true for any other context. For example, a territory, a place, or a community, or even a company is a living system that is defined by the set of relations that composes them. And another foundational element is reciprocity. As we saw with our special classes, when one level of the system or element is affected, all levels with which it interacts also do so. And in the same way as in our body, if each part works properly, all the system does as well. So another foundation is complementarity. In the same way, different or apparently even opposite forces have different qualities or assets that can be complementary and that can make the system as a whole to work better. These are cultural principles which guide the ways of living of traditional communities that can inform the way companies as living systems can address their responsibility with the world as a whole. So let's explore what a strategy for modern companies would look like. For example, companies could explore making changes from within, from where what we call the sphere of control. Like, for example, offering employees time for cultivating well-being habits and promoting a culture of community, of providing spaces for community-based employment, like places where people could live together, share free time, build extended family kins, and grow food together, for example, for supporting each other. Things like this will create ripple effects from the inside outwards. And companies could also explore changes from without, from the sphere of influence or impact which they interact, like the supply chains, and bringing attention to where and how the prime materials in the supply chain are produced. This would build ethic and empathic relationships from the outside inwards, guaranteeing that the final product has the expected quality without putting at stake the well-being of the planet as a whole.
So at the heart of the company, there is the will to take actions that imply changes, and these will have implications in the spheres of impact and influence, and at the same time, actions with the producers and the supply chains are taken, there will be a simultaneous force from within and without that will expand the ripple effects beyond the spheres of impact and control of the company, influencing the whole global context and making the company address the different scales with responsibility for the benefit of the whole.
So let me share with you some of the examples of companies that have taken this step. Some of my favorite brands, like Veja, the tennis shoes I'm wearing right now. They buy organic cotton from Brazilian and Peruvian producers, and also rubber from the Amazon, that is natural rubber for the soles. And they have innovative materials that are made out of recycled plastic bottles and recycled polyester. And they take care of each and every element in the shoe in their supply chain in order to make the tennis shoes sustainable. And they also have inclusive policies for their employees. And another company, for example, is Patagonia, that has a different approach, but has also taken this step. For example, it enables the buyer the possibility of buying second-hand garments from people that have already used Patagonia and that cannot buy new things because of the high prices. They can buy second-hand items and give them a second life. And they also have programs to produce food with local communities, and they also fund environmental programs around the world. And another of my favorite brands in Colombia is called Crepes and Waffles, and a restaurant that is a B Corp certified company, which means that they are ethical and sustainable. And for example, they support a lot of processes of buying directly from the producers the ingredients that they use in their menu. Like, for example, an Andean parsnip called arracacha, or they make ice cream, vegan ice cream from cashew milk that is grown in Colombia. And the fruits in their ice creams are also locally produced. And they have a direct relation with the producer, with the peasants that grow the food. For example, they have a beautiful program of black pepper, grown by the ex-guerrilla members that are finding a second chance in society and grow pepper. And so these are some examples of inspiring companies that have taken steps that can help us understand how putting the collective at the heart of what we do can make a difference, and how local and locally based solutions can have global impact and address global challenges that humanity is facing today.
One word.